Then Andre, you've got the floor.
Well, you know, when I go back and I look at, and like I said, I'm just not really getting into this, but I've always looked at those who stood up. At some point in time, we have a government that really don't have a problem with coming and getting rid of us. And 4 or 5 individuals, to me, would surely be asking them to become martyrs. I really think that it needs to be more than 4 or 5 individuals under any circumstances. And I'm not sure as to how certain individuals tend to pull those who are willing to stand up for the rest of us, how they pull us out front just so they can recognize that, okay, we got somebody we got to work on. My trust factor for our government is 0. My trust factor for those who work under members of our government is 0. We have a lot of people that act like they in your favor, but is stabbing you in the back. You know, when you sit up there and you talked about the foreclosure, I got about 7 properties in which was taken from me. And before we can talk about stopping them from taking them from us, how do we find out? And I just wish I was astute enough and knew enough about law to find out where are they breaking the laws at first. Those that are breaking the laws need to be pulled in front of the law, needs to be charged. And those are the individuals that I believe need to be worked on in order for us to break this down. But we're starting at the back of the horse and not at the front of the horse in my eyes, where how do we get into these documents that they got? How do we break them down as to what they're doing, how they're doing it, in order to be able to stop them from doing it? And there's a lot that's going on. We got billionaires paying our politicians to make laws that's keeping us where we at. When you talk about the Dred Scott, you know, I'm just sitting up here reading the Dred Scott, everybody talking about the Dred Scott law, but I don't see where he benefited from what he did, because he didn't know that he wasn't a slave, but you got laws that tell him a slave. Just like I be telling people, all I know is that I do what I do. I didn't know that the stuff that I'm doing kept me enslaved, and that I'm enslaved right now, that I really don't have no rights, because you couldn't have told me that. But when you talk about freedom and being able to do what you want to do, no, I don't see that in my life. But I would like to see it in other individuals' life. But in my opinion, and I'm saying in my opinion, if we don't go at the paperwork, if we don't go at the ones making these decisions on paper and be able to knock the information down that they got, be able to turn that stuff over, I just don't see us being able to do anything. They got the armies against us. 4 or 5 individuals go out there, somebody gonna get shot just so they can prove that they got the power. I don't know.
If I may, if I may, Charles, just a couple of Andre's concerns. I agree with what you're saying regarding the corporation coming at people, and I'll use this term. I like to stay away from the term individual, but in this case, I will use it: individuals or small groups. So some of your concerns have been voiced before as well by, for example, Michael of Florida with regarding numbers. Now, if any of those 7 properties, though, that were taken from you have a property tax issue, and if that was the foundation for them taking the property, we're working on that right now on Michigan, because the Supreme Court of Michigan, even under the de facto, has ruled specifically regarding common law and taking the property. and they articulated multiple times in their opinion that Michigan is a common law state. So at some of these lower courts, they refuse to recognize certain common law rights. If and when one gets to the Supreme Court, they most certainly recognize Michigan being a common law state. Secondly, I agree with you completely in terms of the corporation establishing war on people. I've said before, I don't think they can do anything but. I think that's the best thing that they do. They can't provide clean water. They can't provide clean air. They can't provide food that will not cause someone various cancers down the road, and they're not concerned with that. But one thing that they can do is they can bring war to the individual or group that they feel is threatening their position. Now, our position, and if you go to Wayne County Assembly.info, our position is one that believes that the common law is and what we've adopted in terms of our community and growing our community, the Exodus 18 model that Charles has presented in terms of the townships and the establishing of the constitutional counties, is the protection. And we think we can do it with 10. Really, I prefer 100. I prefer 1,000. But if we've got 10 active, not 4 or 5, but 10, we can do that. And we have that here on Wayne County. So there are some, we have a committee that right now is working on, and working on a template that can be used by others. If the taking of one's property was based upon property tax, where they're taking people's property, selling it at auction, paying off the liability, and actually keeping the proceeds. They're pocketing the proceeds, where they should have been turning that over to the property owner. That has already been established. So, again, I'm hoping that you join us on some of our Michigan calls on Monday, because some of your concerns right now are being addressed. And nationally, that's this call right here. The Supreme Court of Law will believe that we can establish certain protections for those people that are looking to establish the Republican form of governance on their state. And we are putting some things in place here in Michigan that you will be very interested in to provide that umbrella of protection, even that some of these, Charles likes to refer to them as what I think it was jackboot Nazis. I call them the tyrants, that the protection from, because that is one of our main concerns. Protection for our members in every household of either the Wayne County Republic or the Michigan Republic. So your concerns, I believe, are valid. Let me say that first. I'm not dismissing anything that you've said. I think that they're very valid concerns, especially here on Michigan, where we've got to deal with other things, Homeland Security and others, because of what they classify the Great Lakes as, and our proximity to international borders with Canada. They take an extra level of what they believe are their, and I don't even know the word to use, but they feel that they can take an extra level of security, which is entirely unconstitutional in what they can or cannot do, simply because of our proximity to international borders and international waters. So your concerns are valid, and we are looking at those now and how we can protect our members from those things. So again, I'm hoping that you join us on our Monday calls, and glad to hear you on this call. I yield.
Yeah, I will definitely continue to be a part of this. At least there's some individuals, and it ain't but a handful, but at least there's some individuals that's willing to make a difference for the future. I look at, I do community work and I've been in my community for the last 50-some years. And what I have seen is that I didn't realize that when I was coming up that they was taking things as I was leaving and moving up through my different grades. But after I left school, they took away the home mag, they took away the wood shop, took away the metal shop, the band, the whole 9 yards. Now our kids have nothing. Now they're at home knowing that if they're at home and they sit up here and think about a juice box, they're going to the juice box, so where's the education at? So now they even put us in a situation where we can't even teach the kids. I mean, they treacherous as to how far they will go to control and to take over not just land but populations, and it's just ridiculous. I yield.
Thank you, Andre.